What's up, everybody? Charlie Marlow here. Want to do a video here before Christmas. This will probably be our last video in terms of on camera until Christmas, unless there's a big move for the Cardinals, which probably won't happen because I think the Cardinals did their one big move for the 2022 offseason leading into the 2023 season. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there could be some trade for a Brian Reynolds type. We can all cross our fingers right there. But knowing the Cardinals, some of these years, it seems like if they do one big move, that could be it for the winter. We shall see on that. But the topic of this video, as you look at the ticker down there, are the Cardinals better than last season? And it's one of these things that I've gotten a lot of comments from you guys here on YouTube about that. Now, I think the Cardinals are better right now than they were last season. Now, are they significantly better? I don't think so. I do think they are better. But then I kept hearing comments from you guys or reading them, and also reading texts and also hearing from listeners on the radio show on 590 The Fan, KFNS, Hot Take Central, 7 to 10 every morning, Monday through Friday. And a lot of people were saying or thinking, hey, I don't think the Cardinals actually are better than last year. And enough people have commented or said that it gets me thinking, well, maybe I'm wrong. Well, it's all a matter of an opinion, but also enough people said that I'm thinking, well, maybe the Cardinals actually aren't better. So I think the argument being made by a lot of folks is that, yes, the Cardinals, they've upgraded at the catcher position, obviously, in signing Wilson Contreras, but a lot of folks are looking at that as essentially a wash in terms of replacing Albert Pujols, which I totally get because Albert Pujols was freaking fantastic last year. Albert Pujols, his OPS plus was 154 for the season, 54% above league average. Now, we all know the majority of that came in the second half, but still, Albert Pujols was awesome last year. Now, Wilson Contreras, he was a 128 OPS plus, but at the catching position, that is phenomenal. And I think you also need to look at the fact that he is replacing the production or lack thereof from Yadier Molina and Andrew Knizner, which last year, if you just look at it from an offensive standpoint, and we know that Wilson Contreras is going to be a drop-off defensively, certainly from Yadi, and what we came to expect from Yadi for almost 20 years. But let's remember the last couple years, the offense was not great at all from Yadi and Andrew Knizner. So in 2022, Yadi's OPS plus was 53. He was basically half of league average offensively. And Andrew Knizner's was 75. So he's 3/4 offensively of the production of a league average player. So that's where, this is an obvious statement, that's where the huge upgrade comes for the Cardinals. If you look at Wilson Contreras as a 128 OPS plus, even the fact that he's 115 for his career, but you're looking at essentially close to a 60% upgrade offensively from the catching position from what you were getting between Yadi and Andrew Knizner into what you're getting from Wilson Contreras. And in saying that, it's not apples to apples because Kiz at the moment is still going to be the backup, and you'd think he's going to catch 50 or so games. You'd think if Wilson Contreras stays healthy. I'm guessing that target number for Wilson Contreras is probably, in terms of games caught, around 110, maybe 115, potentially DHing him for another 20 games or so. So in saying that, I do believe that the Cardinals, they've significantly upgraded the catching position, and certainly offensively. But then when folks say, okay, that's basically a wash with Albert, here's where I disagree with you folks saying that. It's much more difficult to replace a catcher and to find a top 5 catcher in baseball, which that is what the Cardinals now have. He's probably right around 5th, whether it's 6th, 4th, depending on the year. Wilson Contreras is a top 5-ish catcher in baseball. So in replacing Albert Pujols, let's be honest about this. You're replacing Albert, who is great, but you're replacing a designated hitter. And you got to think the easiest position in baseball to replace is the DH, a guy who's not even bringing a glove to the field. And remember, the DH position now, with a lot of teams, I think with the Cardinals for 2023, it's not going to be just just put Albert Pujols' name in the lineup card every single day like you saw in the second half of the season. That started as, okay, he's going to hit against lefties. But then second half, Albert was so good, you can't take him out of the lineup. So I think you're going to see a rotating cast of DHs. It certainly makes sense to take guys like Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado, who are well into their 30s, off their feet every once in a while, but still keep their bats in the lineup. I don't think you want Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt to be playing third base and first base 162 games, even 155 games. Whatever that number is, maybe it's 145 to 150 games if those guys stay healthy. And then you DH them another 5-7 games, again, to get them off your feet. Well, right there, that's 10%, maybe 15% of your DH spots for the season. The other thing is, I think the Cardinals' DH spot is going to be fine. Is it going to be a 154 OPS plus like Albert Pujols? No, it's not. But I do believe that if it's a rotating cast and then you want to use Juan Yepez matchup-wise, do you want to use Nolan Gorman matchup-wise if he's still on the roster? I believe if you combine a Juan Yepez, Nolan Gorman timeshare with some of these other guys, taking them off their feet. Oh, and by the way, I'm dumb because I'm not even bringing up the fact I already mentioned Wilson Contreras. Don't you think Wilson Contreras is probably going to DH 15 to 20 games? So right there, let's just say 20 games Wilson Contreras. Let's say Nolan Arenado 10 games at DH. Let's say Paul Goldschmidt 10 games at DH. And I'm just throwing out random numbers, whatever the number ends up being. But that right there is a quarter of your DH at bats right there for the season. That's about 40 or so games. Then what if Nolan Gorman ends up being your DH for half the season? You like the matchups there against some righties. Nolan Gorman DH is about 80 games. Maybe Juan Yepez gets the other 40 or so. And we all know there's going to be guys sprinkled in here and there to be the DH. But for the most part, I can see the timeshare being something like that. And I think that DH position is going to be well above league average for the Cardinals. When you combine matchups with Gorman, Yepez, Wilson Contreras, a plus offensive player who's probably going to get 20 games at DH or so, and then taking Goldie and Arenado off their feet for 10 or so games each, I think you're going to have a well above average DH position. So that is where I don't agree with you folks who are saying that it's a wash between adding Wilson Contreras and losing Albert Pujols. Because to me, you've significantly upgraded the catching position, and I think your drop-off at the DH position is not going to be great. It's not going to be this huge drop-off. It's certainly going to be league average. We would dang well hope. It wouldn't surprise me if the Cardinals DHs are 20, 25, pushing 30% above league average when you start to look at Contreras for 20 or so, Goldie and Arenado for 20 or so combined, and then probably Gorman half the season and a Yepez, and depending on who hits. Right. I mean, this conversation is going to take care of itself depending on who hits, and that'll be fun to watch. So we're just talking about offense. So that's where I disagree with you guys about, look, it's not just you're trading Wilson Contreras for Albert Pujols. It's easier to upgrade at DH than it is catcher. But then if you bring in other aspects of the team, I think right now, bullpen-wise, it's pretty much the same. Whatever the Cardinals end up doing bullpen-wise, at the moment, it's essentially the same bullpen as last year. Now, you could get a guy like Gordon Graceffo to come up and immediately contribute. So there's a wild card. But I think it's fair to say that if you were just looking at it in layman's terms, the Cardinals' bullpen has stayed the same from 2022 to 2023. Remember, the whole point of this video with the nice little ticker, my hand's big right there, is are the Cardinals better than last season? So to me, offensively, yes, they are. Bullpen is the same, in my opinion. And again, if you disagree, drop your comments right here. Say, Charlie, you're so smart. You're right. Say, Charlie, you're an idiot. And here's why. Here's why you're wrong, dummy. And I'll tell you why I'm right. And you know what? I usually like every one of your comments and give you a thumbs up. By the way, since you're watching now, why don't you give me a like on this video? Give me your comments. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you doing here, folks? Come on, let's subscribe to this channel. We're pumping out Cardinals content on a daily basis, sometimes 2 times per day. Okay, I got sidetracked there. What was I talking about? Okay, so offense to me has been upgraded. Bullpen is the same. To me, starting rotation, a little kind of different way to look at it. Clearly right now, you've lost Jose Quintana, who was your game 1 starter in the playoffs. I also think, though, you kind of have to look at the way that the rotation evolved over the course of the season. So, early on, Dakota Hudson's in there. He's not performing well. Later on in the season, you have that innings crunch again. You got to fill innings. They go and they get 2 who ended up being studs in Jose Quintana and Jordan Montgomery. End of the year, last month, Adam Wainwright has all of his problems with his landing foot and who knows, dead arm and all that. Miles Mikolas was really, really solid all season long. As is almost always the case, Jack Flaherty is the wild card for 2023. If Jack Flaherty can get anywhere close, and I know people are saying, Charlie, why the hell would you expect that? I still think when healthy, he's the Cardinals' best pitcher stuff-wise, and their rotation, everybody falls into place perfectly. Not perfectly, but better if Jack Flaherty is your 1. Miles Mikolas looks way better to me as a 2 than a 1, especially if you're talking about playoff matchups. And then on down the line with a Jordan Montgomery, with a Adam Wainwright. And oh, by the way, Steven Matz is a guy I haven't mentioned. So that also comes into this conversation. So when I'm saying are the Cardinals better in 2023 than 2022, I'm not looking at the Cardinals 2022 opening day roster. I'm not even looking at the Cardinals 2022 All-Star break team. I'm looking at the team essentially that ended the season. The team after the trade deadline that added Quintana, that added Montgomery, that added Chris Stratton, that won the division comfortably, that got to the playoffs and were swept by the Philadelphia Phillies in 2 games in the wild card series. So again, when we're talking about starting rotation, and you tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm being unfair, I want to hear from you guys. But at the end of the year, so you had Quintana rolling, Montgomery rolling, Miles Mikolas rolling, Adam Wainwright with the dead arm at the end. And then remember at the end of the season, Jack Flaherty did start to make a few starts towards the end of the year as he got healthy. Obviously, he did not pitch in the playoffs. But if you're looking at those 5, okay, remember Dakota Hudson falls out of the rotation. Now he's a depth piece for 2023, maybe bullpen, maybe a trade chip, maybe AAA, who knows. I still think Dak has talent. Maybe that's better suited on another team. I don't know about his role for the Cardinals in 2023. But when you look at the rotation, okay, and I'm assuming Jack Flaherty is finally going to be healthy. So 2023, as I scratch my lip, Jack Flaherty is your 1. Is that fair? For me, at least. If he's healthy, I like Jack Flaherty as your 1. Okay, Miles Mikolas is your 2. For me, I'm going to put Jordan Montgomery right now as my 3. You may say I'm disrespecting Adam Wainwright. Adam Wainwright, look, was really, really good before the dead arm. I'm kind of basing this more on stuff. Would not surprise me if Adam Wainwright ended up being the Cardinals' second best pitcher in 2023. But I think it's fair if you're talking about stuff and age. I'm going to put Waino as the 4-ish. Steven Matz also could be pretty dang good. He's hopefully back and healthy. And that's where, in saying that, I'm not trying to discredit Waino, Matz by calling them a 4 or 5. I think it's more about the fact that the Cardinals have a lot of really solid number 2 or number 3 starters, right? I would put all those guys. Now, if Flaherty can ever get back to being a 1, that's where, man, now you feel like, hey, I got a 1, and I got 4 guys in Mikolas and Montgomery and Matz and Waino who are all number 2, number 3-ish, I think, type starters. And that's where all of a sudden your rotation lines up pretty good. So to me, look, if you're giving me Flaherty and you're giving me Matz, and I understand right now, because look, it is December what? It's the holiday season. You see the, you see the stockings there? It's December 21st. Merry Christmas, everybody, by the way. Merry Christmas. Am I allowed to say Merry Christmas? Are you going to cancel me for saying Merry Christmas? How about I just say all of them? Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, Happy Kwanzaa, okay? Can I say all those things? Is that cool? I'm joking. I think people get outraged about a lot of crazy stuff these days. And we're actually going to do a video on that on the Kenny Wallace YouTube channel on Thursday. Check that out. Kenny Wallace is very funny on those things. So again, my point is, because it is December 21st, I am going to assume health for all these guys. But look, I understand there's always going to be an injury. So probably Dakota Hudson finds himself back into rotation at some point, or one of these guys, Jake Woodford, whoever it is. Somebody always gets hurt. But because it is December 21st, 4 days away from Santa Claus coming to town, I'm assuming health. So when I look at that rotation, and it is, you're giving me Flaherty, you're giving me Michaelis, you're giving me Montgomery, you're giving me Waino, and I'm putting him as our 4. And I'm hoping that dead arm's gone. Maybe I'm hoping too much. And Matz is my 5. You tell me. How is that rotation lined up against last year, where you ended the year, Quintana was your 1 in the postseason, Michaelis, Waino had the dead arm, Flaherty was banged up, but he was healthy. I still think they should have pitched him in the playoffs. I think he has the best stuff of anybody. I've said that a couple years now. It always bothers me when they go through a playoff series or a game and they don't use Jack Flaherty. And then again, last year, remember, Steven Matz is injured. So to me, I think the rotation is at least the same, if not slightly better. If you're looking at, can Matz replace the Quintana production, and then you're giving me a healthy Jack Flaherty, what do you think? Again, if you think I'm wrong, let me know. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. But again, when you add up the different facets of the game, and look, maybe the Cardinals get some value with the new hitting coach in Turner Ward, with Matt Holliday as a bench coach. You got the new coaching staff changes. Maybe you pick up some value here and there. But I think when we're focusing on the players, that I think offense has upgraded pretty well. I think the bullpen is the same. And to me, I think a slight upgrade of the starting rotation just based on health right now as we talk on December 21st with the health of Jack Flaherty, Steven Matz, and I'm hoping and praying that Adam Wainwright did figure out his whole landing spot and that he can be consistent the whole year. Remember, he was pretty dang good for 5 months. It was just the bad last month for him. All right. I think I've talked long enough. What are we approaching here? 18 or so minutes. Before I go, though, I got to give a shout out. Now we have, I'm going to give several shout outs. We have a members program here on YouTube. It's like $2.99 per month. And look, you guys don't have to do this, but if you do, it's great for the channel. So I want to thank the members. You have different tiers, and I have 5 members in that first tier, and I want to thank you guys. You get comment, reply, priorities. You get the different badges and all that. As you move up to a different tier, you'll get personalized videos, and you'll get member shout outs and all that. And just so you know, you guys don't have to do this, but the folks that have joined, I really appreciate it. And I'd been meaning to mention you guys, and I just hadn't for the last several videos. So our 5 members, by the way, once we get to 10 members, I can put you guys on the homepage. So that is not my call. Once you get to 10 members, you can put the members' names on the homepage of YouTube. So I want to thank Bren Gillespie. Bren Gillespie, shout out. You were our first member. SMFR, the podcast. That's my boy. Stevie Mother Reed. Stevie Reed. I knew that. That was an accident. Stevie Reed, I know your name. That's SMFR, the podcast. So check out his podcast as well. Daniel Winfrey, a member. Mother Goose, my guy Mother Goose, who's always commenting, and I'm always replying. I appreciate all the comments, Mother Goose. And Bobby, the Handsome Guy Johnson. How about that name? Bobby, the Handsome Guy Johnson. So Bren Gillespie, SMFR, the podcast, my boy Stevie Reed, Daniel Winfrey, Mother Goose, and Bobby, the Handsome Guy Johnson. Thank you for your membership. And folks, if you want to join, you can. If not, no big deal. Just keep watching the videos. It's free content. I know you gotta sit through some commercials here and there, but hey, it's free. We're not asking you to pay unless you're a member, which you can. But otherwise, you can watch the videos for free. Then just sit through some beautiful ads that are targeted directly to your wants and needs, because that Google and YouTube, they're in our brains. They know what we're searching on social media. You're thinking about something. Next thing you know, you see an ad for it. That's how social media works. They're always listening. They're always following us. They always know what's happening. Okay, I'll shut up now. Once again, comment, like, subscribe. Thank you to our members. If you want to learn about becoming a member, you can click join on the homepage. And one more time, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy every other holiday that I don't even know exists, like Festivus or Krampus, whichever they are, however you celebrate with you and yours. Have a great holiday Christmas season. We'll have some more videos coming up, but I think this will be my last on-camera video until Christmas. I'm going to try to do at least one of these per week. So I'll be back next year, next year, 2023, but also next week before New Year's. All right. See you guys later. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Merry Christmas. Peace.